Right then, here we go. It's gonna be another long night drive, and I'm driving from home to home, so to speak. Yeah, my home in Kulim towards my family home in Seremban. It's gonna be quite a few hours of driving, yeah, with a few stops along the way, covering a distance of, I don't know, almost 400 kilometers. Let's see, here we go. Time now is just after midnight.
Turn left on Lorong Karanji.
Right, you can see me already starting by not following the directions given by my trusty driving app. Not to worry, folks. I just went the wrong way along the one-way street, but that's just within my little housing area. Yeah, so it's like after midnight, totally quiet, and we should be okay. Drive may take 6 or 7 hours, depending on traffic, the weather. If it's clear like this and there's no rain, we should be all right. And also depending on how many pit stops I make, because like you can't do night driving if you're fatigued. But I had a good sleep before this. Yeah, I think I would have slept for about 5 hours almost. Yeah, just before this drive. And I had a shower, and I had 2 big cups of hot tea with 1 roti canai, yeah, in case any of you guys are curious as to what I eat. But it was just 1 roti canai instead of my usual 2. So I'm good, feel fresh. Just hoping that the car behaves well. Traffic is okay. The rain doesn't come, the roads are clear, So many things that determine how a drive turns out. Not so very much to see, I suppose, now, the famous Malaysian greenery not visible during the nights, of course. But then again, I watch, travel videos, and I love to watch long train drives, and people driving and just watching the scenery, just imagining what it would be like if I were driving there. And I find it fascinating looking at even small details, yeah, kinds of intersections, traffic signals, how other traffic is flowing, what kinds of vehicles people are driving, and you probably notice that most of the cars that people use in Malaysia are decent vehicles, not many of these super expensive vehicles, but still, family cars and decently maintained, not some old rustic bone shakers. And then the trucks, I suppose in comparison to other Asian countries, the trucks here are all right too. But the road mosquitoes, those little motorcycles, they call them here, yeah, but they're not really like, these proper motorcycles like you have in the West. Over here, they are small engine vehicles, usually in about the 100 to 150 or cc engine capacity thingies, and they sort of like drive them all over the bloody road, yeah. They'll overtake cars from all sides, usually from the wrong side, like as we are driving now. The correct way to overtake would be from somebody's right. In other words, like if I'm driving now and I want to overtake a vehicle in front of me, I'd move to my right and overtake. But these motorcycles, they love to just overtake you from the left, which is your wrong side, and they just give themselves a narrow width of road to overtake you. So if you had to, for some reason, move a little bit to the left, towards the road shoulder, so to speak, then you just, slam them and push them over, and off they go, into a ditch or something, and they'll suffer fairly severe injuries because they don't dress protectively. Many of them will just be wearing flip-flops instead of shoes. Flip-flops, yeah. We call them slippers over here. And then, sometimes just shorts instead of jeans, and a light t-shirt, Fortunately, almost everybody wears a crash helmet, all these motorcyclists, because the traffic police are fairly strict about that. But in rural village areas, some of them will just flaunt even that, and they might even carry kids on the motorbike with them. Seriously, yeah, you sometimes see in a rural area a small motorcycle with daddy and mommy with about two little kids sandwiched in between them, yeah. And you think, oh my God, what would happen if these guys met with even a small road accident? But such is the nature of people, yeah. I suppose for some of these people, so-called modernization and progress is moving faster than they themselves are, so it's difficult. They are still thinking in terms of village lanes and bicycles, and they don't have a concept of how dangerous things get when you are moving at higher speeds. Yeah, certainly you wouldn't expect them to understand, the concepts between forces, mass, velocity, momentum, and Newton's laws. So all in all, if you're driving in Malaysia, you have to be very, very careful about these pesky but also vulnerable motorcyclists. And I prefer to drive along roads where I don't get to see many of them. But if you're in the cities, then there's no avoiding them. If you are actually along village roads or rural roads like this one, that you run across many of them. I don't mean like run into, I mean run across. Yeah, let's clarify that point. And what was I going to say? But the thing is, like, it's now after midnight. It's about 12:30 a.m. now, and so there are not that many of them on motorcycles on the road. In fact, there are not many vehicles on the road either here. So this is one other reason why I prefer to drive late nights, especially if the weather is clear. Yeah. And the one thing that you might also want to know is that the road driving conditions are pretty good, even in this rural area. Yeah, the road is good. Very few potholes. You probably only get potholes if it's like just after very heavy rainy season things. Then the roads might get waterlogged. You could have some fallen tree branches, and then there could be some damage to the road, which they tend to resurface in a pretty decent time, especially on these main roads, we call them, even though they are rural, but they are main communication roads. And so this stretch of road is quite pleasant to drive, and then there's good street lights in the village areas and small town areas, and then it only gets really dark when you're completely out of populated area. But even small villages would have street lights if they are along a main road. Yeah, so it's quite okay. I mean, so far, touch wood, it's pretty nice driving. Decent traffic lights working well. The road markers are in place. Over here, the road lines have faded, but they do paint them up regularly to be fair. Malaysia used to boast some of the best roads in Asia. A combination of factors, and also the mountains here have got lots and lots of granite, which is an ideal rock for the stones required to pave the roads. So we've got good granite roads In some Asian countries, like in Thailand, they use concrete to surface the roads, yeah. And there are one or two stretches of highway roads in Malaysia which do have concrete surfaces. They may last and are longer and take have less wear and tear, in monsoon weather. But driving on them is not really pleasant. Yeah, I think the concrete tends to be hard, and when you're driving, as your car tires go over the road, this is a hard, mid-rangey kind of a sound, not at all pleasant. Like you probably can hear the sound of my car on the road now, and there's a droning kind of a sound of the rubber wheels on the granite road. But it's I don't know, it's a kind of a not too bad sound, yeah. Somewhat comforting as well, yeah. I enjoy the sound, But if on a concrete road, no, it's a higher pitched, mid-rangey sound, which it's frankly quite unpleasant. And now we are at another intersection, not quite in the middle of nowhere actually, because like if you live around here, then this is the center of your universe, so to speak. And the road towards our right, heading to the right, heads towards Penang-ish via other rural areas, but it's a fairly developed area, lots and lots of shops and residential areas in that direction. Right now we're driving through an old village, traditional Malay village, yeah, with lots of traditional wooden houses previously, but now, of course, things have become modernized. The properties on the sides of this connecting road, have risen in value. So, people have built so-called modern houses, and then there are some commercial shop zones as well, but still quite a fair bit of the older village-ish houses. Once you get off the road, like 100 meters in, you still see some of the traditional wooden houses. And look, right in the middle of nowhere, we come to a wider road. It's like, some big school set up, and then probably some new small township kind of a thing. Somebody's decided to start some industry somewhere. There's always all sorts of development going on in Malaysia, because when you come to think of it, no place is really very far from other places. The entire peninsula, from our northern border in Thailand to the southern border in Singapore, is probably, I don't know what, 700 to 800 kilometers inland, and then Kuala Lumpur is somewhere in the middle of it all. So the distance from, say, Penang to Kuala Lumpur is just about 350 kilometers. And the distance from, like this place to Penang It's probably just an hour's drive to Penang, or 45 minutes from here. So, if you run an industry, or if you wanted to build a factory, you might as well as build it, out of the big city, where you can get cheap labor from the local populace, and there you go. Yeah. So there are many of these smaller industries that just employ dozens of workers, and they'll set up, in areas like this, areas that seem to be rural but actually are nearby the bigger cities. And of course, those industries that employ hundreds, if not thousands of workers, like the electronics factories, they base themselves in the big cities like Penang, or even in Kulim. There are 2 industrial estates there. But a lot of their labor force comes from places like this, so they'll have fleets of little buses and mini buses, we call them, that will be driving around these areas, picking up their workers from places near their villages, and then taking them to the factories to work. And it seems a little bit strange, but at the same time, it's not too far a journey. Though I do know some factories which get regular transport provided for their workers, right? They don't expect the workers who are working at operator levels, or at the lower levels, to drive to the factory. Because, who wants to drive for an hour to get a low-paying job, So the factories that need thousands of workers, they'll entice people in the small towns and villages, by offering them free transport. So they'll hire fleets of smaller buses and vans to pick them up from the roadside, just near their houses. The journey might take 45 minutes, it might even take an hour, but then, they're driven in comfort to the factory. They work for some hours, and then they get sent back home as well, and then they get paid decently as well, so people don't mind. Yeah. And this way the entire rural population becomes a source of labor for the industries in big cities. Okay, anyway, now this rural road is connecting at this intersection with the old main north-south road. So this is the north-south trunk road, we call it. And it used to be the only way you could drive up to Penang from Kuala Lumpur, and it will drive through a lot of these towns and cities. Now we have a highway system that runs along the entire length of the peninsula, like say from Thailand in the north down to Singapore, and so in about 5-10 minutes we'll exit this old trunk road, and we'll connect into the north-south highway. And that north-south highway, has made driving up and down the peninsula so very much more convenient, and also reduce the traveling time. It used to take about 10 hours or 8 hours at the very, very minimum to drive from Kuala Lumpur to Penang. But with the highway, you can do it in about 3.5 or 4 hours on a good day. So that's reduced traveling a lot. But unfortunately, So many people have begun to drive along the north-south highways, and there's so much traffic nowadays that when it is a festival season or a holiday season or a weekend, then even the highways can get congested. And if it's like a major holiday weekend, the north-south highway can get so congested that the Kuala Lumpur to Penang journey could take 10 hours or even more. Yeah, and you'd have, queues stretching for miles and miles at the various intersections and toll booths there. So anyway, I try to drive off the peak hours and avoid weekend traffic, and at late nights like this where we get less traffic, hopefully. So anyway, I was talking about the rural populations and transport being provided for them to work in the industry. So effectively, with decent roads, the industries in Malaysia are able to mobilize their workforces, and even though the population of Malaysia is not very big, I think the whole country is a population of just about 36 or less than 40 million people, but they are able to get people to work even from the rural areas. So when you look at a small town in Malaysia or a rural place, don't for a moment think that the people there are poor. They might be actually living a better quality of life than many folks in the city, because they work in the industries or in the cities, and they live in small towns where the cost of living is so very cheap. Many of them, might even have their own little orchards, and so they get cheap or free fruit, and then eating out here is really cheap, but most people cook at home. So basically, they have very low living expenses. Once you've taken accommodation out of the equation, because they're staying in family homes, and then you've even taken transport to work out of the equation, because the factories and industries are providing them with free transport. When they have meals at the factories, even the meal prices are subsidized. So while their wages are not high by Western or European standards, they have very little expenses, and so most of their wages are just on sort of like spent on themselves, so they can buy good mobile phones, have good television sets at home. Everybody's got good internet connection, and that's that. Okay, hang on. I was just sort of like pausing to make sure, that I haven't missed the intersection that goes off into the highway. But we're good. I have my driving app running, and it gives a display on my car info screen. So the intersection is just under 2 kilometers away. If I were to be taking this video, during the daytime, on an afternoon, or even the evening while it's still daylight, the driving conditions are nowhere near what you're seeing here. Yeah, there'll be a lot of traffic, a lot of congestion, a lot of smaller trucks, delivering goods, and lots of these pesky motorcycle thingies. Then there is a certain time where the highway and the roads at night become congested-ish, with a lot of buses, because the long distance buses that that take people from, say, Penang to Kuala Lumpur, the night buses would tend to time their journeys so that they are picking up passengers at night from Butterworth or Penang or whichever town is in the north. But they time it so that they are reaching their destination at a decent-ish morning hour, right? I mean, like nobody's going to get on a bus that's going to arrive at their destination city at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So to arrive at about 5 in the morning onwards is okay. So the buses will time their departures accordingly, depending on how far they are driving. There are some buses that go from Penang right down to Singapore, right? Then with stops and breaks, that might be a 10-hour 12-hour journey, in which case they might leave Penang, I don't know, at about 8 or 9 p.m. But anyway, the point that I'm making is, if you're driving along on this road at night and the road seems to be like nice and clear with little traffic, if you were to be driving half an hour later or earlier, you might actually be on the road with a lot of buses, because you are in their prime traveling time, so to speak. Yeah. So it will be interesting now that we are entering the highway, the north-south highway system. It will be interesting to see whether our drive, once we are on the highway, meets up with lots of bus and truck traffic or not. Even the trucks will tend to time their journeys, because some cities will not allow heavy goods vehicles to enter within the city limits during certain hours. Like if it's like rush hour, office hours, then trucks are not allowed to drive into commercial areas. So they could be on the highways, and then they'll have to time their journey. If they are a little bit too early, and are in risk of violating the time zone laws, then they'll just pull over at the side of the highway at designated rest areas and wait until they can move across. So when you're driving, again, sometimes you get lots of truck traffic. So let's just see how it goes. Yeah. Right, we've entered the north-south highway thingy here. There is a speed limit of 110 kilometers per hour, which we shall observe as we're driving. They have regular traffic speed cameras on this highway. see a sign here that says, traffic camera zone, so to speak, and they are automated. If you exceed the speed limit, hey, smile, you'll be on camera, and a couple of weeks later, you get a traffic ticket in your mail. Or sometimes the police decide to, just reinforce people's awareness of driving speed limits, and they'll have what is called a traffic speed trap roadblock. And so they'll be like, they'll block the highway, and they'll pull over all those who've been violating the speed traps, issue them with the manual tickets. It's more like just to, well, not really scare people, but yeah, I suppose in a way, people get scared of having to meet up with a cop. So they just, when there is a police speed trap roadblock ahead, if they know about it, then they'll slow down. How would they know about it? Well, there are two ways. One is like a lot of the driving apps will allow the users to interact with the app, and they can just, use their touch screen to press an icon, which will get uploaded into the app servers, and that will sort of like let the app server know that there's a speed trap or a road traffic accident or whatever on the road at that point, and then other users of that app, as they're driving, will get alerted. So you might get alerted to say, hey, there's a speed camera ahead, or there is a road accident ahead, or a stalled vehicle ahead. And so if they know that there's a speed trap ahead, or there are police on the road, that they'll slow down. That's one way. The other is the oncoming traffic. This is really naughty. I mean, so let's say I'm driving on this highway, and I notice that on the other side of the highway, there is a speed trap and a roadblock. And then once I pass it, and once I pass it, I can flash my headlights at the oncoming traffic, and when they see headlights on vehicles flashing on the other side, they sort of like know, oh, there's going to be a speed trap ahead, yeah. Which if you really think about it, yeah. On the one hand, it may be like drivers cooperating to help other drivers not get traffic tickets, but on the other hand, it's like drivers cooperating to allow dangerous drivers on the road, because people who are speeding away are actually contributing towards the road accidents. Yeah, they're making it a bit more dangerous for everybody. Some of these guys go crazy with their speeding on the highway, like on a highway like this where the speed limit is 110. There are some people who do 170, 180 even. They are barely in control of their vehicles, and people tend to drive as fast as the vehicle can go, not as fast as the vehicle can safely go. Yeah, there's a huge bit of difference between these terms. Yeah, and most people are just obstinate. They just want to have the thrill of driving fast, and the thrill of letting people know, hey, I managed to drive from Penang to Kuala Lumpur in just 3 hours. Why are you taking 5 hours? It's like for them it's a big thrill, but the amount of risk that they undergo, they're not even aware of the risk, because to them that, hey, they're driving perfectly well. The amount of risk that they pose to other users, they don't even think about. Yeah. And then, in the unfortunate event of an actual accident, then they'll always find something else to blame. Yeah, like, oh, the road was badly maintained, or there was some other car that came and swerved into my path, which may be true, but bloody hell, you were driving at 180, so when that guy swerved into your path, your ability to brake or avoid the collision was so very much reduced. And when the collision did occur, you collided at high speed. So this business of flashing cars to let them know that there's a speed trap ahead, I don't do this. I don't do this. I may have done this about 20 years ago, but I think as I've grown a little bit older, I have become a little bit more wiser. I personally try to avoid exceeding the speed limit. I want to drive safely. That's a selfish concept, but yes, everybody should be selfish in that regard. They should want to be safe when they are driving, or as safe as you can possibly be, because you never know. There's so many unexpected things that can happen. So anyway, you want to be safe. So you become a bit more observant on things, try to ensure your car is well maintained, and that all your lights, indicators, and your tires and all in order, your braking system is in order, and then follow the driving regulations. Look, that's the truck in front of us. He gave a signal to show that indicate that he was going to move into this lane, which is the overtaking lane. Some people call it the fast lane, but it's probably better to think of it as the overtaking lane, because there is a speed limit of 110. So if you're driving at 110, as I am, then you can just be on this lane, so to speak. But I always keep an eye out in the rear view mirror in case there is some vehicle that's speeding behind me. Then I'll take the other lane and let him overtake me. So this is just the so-called right lane, or like I said, some people might call it the fast lane. So anyway, that truck gave an indicator, to let anybody behind him know that he wants to take the overtaking lane. So he's done that. That's quite good. That's that's the way it should be. But unfortunately, many of the drivers on the highway, they don't do that. And now we're talking about people who are driving at high speeds, because even 100 kilometers an hour is high speed. We notice on our left, see these motorcycles, they are driving the wrong way along the road, somewhere near an intersection. There are two possibilities of that, because this truck is giving a signal he wants to turn it right as well. I'm keeping a very eye on him, but he's probably noticed that I'm also coming out, or I'm already on this lane, so he might only take this lane when when I passed him, and I just had a look at my rearview mirror, and he hasn't done that. Okay, so a short while ago we saw some motorcycles on our left, and it was near some kind of an intersection, and they seemed to be driving a little bit on the wrong side of the road, yeah. In other words, instead of heading in the direction we are going, they were like coming back towards me, and so there are two possibilities. One is that there was some kind of an emergency or something there involving one of the motorcycles, and maybe somebody dropped something on his motorcycle, and a couple of them decided to go back and have a look. It's a bit dangerous because they're going to go against the flow of traffic. Yeah. But it's hard to pass a judgment without knowing why. And the other thing, which if you are driving in Malaysia, you need to know about this, is that sometimes, either in cities or even in small towns, you could have groups of youngsters, usually on motorcycles, who are into illegal road racing. Seriously, sometimes you have got a whole pile of them. There could be 30, 40, 50 of these motorcycles, and they're going to take part in some illegal road race, and they'll send a few people who are like scouts ahead of them, and they'll check out a certain stretch of road, just in case there happen to be traffic police in that area or stuff. And then once they've marked out a stretch which is free of police, that they'll signal the others, and suddenly from almost out of nowhere you'll find 40 or 50 of these motorcycles doing a race along that stretch, and they're not. Okay, hang on, there's a car behind me, so I'm going to move over to let him overtake. Pesky blue lights in front, no idea what the hell's happening, whether it's a truck, stall vehicle, or just some road thing trying to warn you or something. No idea what happened. So anyway, let the car overtake us. So anyway, these motorcyclists I'm talking about, they will conduct an illegal road race, and they're not even riding big motorcycles, not like the ones you see on MotoGP and stuff. They're just riding these smaller motorcycles, which somehow they have pimped up to be able to go really fast, and so they'll race along the street, and by golly, they'll be sort of like keeping their bodies horizontal, almost lying on their motorcycles, trying to reduce wind drag and stuff like that. And then of course there'll be the regular collision or stuff, and then these guys get horribly injured because they don't wear proper protective clothing when they are racing, and they completely disregard other vehicles on the road. So if you are driving on the road and it so happens that you've got these illegal motorcyclists racing across on the road, and they're overtaking you, they'll be overtaking you from your left and from your right. Whatever you do, just drive at a steady speed, not a fast, steady speed, just at whatever speed you are at. Just keep your vehicle on the road straight. Don't swerve. Whatever you do, don't swerve, because these guys don't have the ability to control their bikes to avoid you, and then just let them overtake you. Just and don't be a bloody fool and honk at them, or do whatever, because if you piss them off, then a whole pile of them are going to block the road in front of you, and This is where it gets scary. You know, they're going to attack your vehicle and attack you. Yes, a lot of these kids are probably high on some drugs and amphetamines or whatever, and they are known as the mud rampit. They're just youths who somehow are unable to channel their excess energies into anything else, and they get their thrills from this. This has been a road menace in Malaysia for many, many, many years, and the authorities are unable or not really willing to bring them under control. That's a whole different social issue for discussion, which I don't want to get into. But for the purposes of this video, since some of you guys who are watching my video series might eventually visit Malaysia or even drive across Malaysia, so I just think it's only fair to let you know all the various issues you face when driving, and perhaps help you to drive safely in Malaysia, and also drive in a way that you can enjoy driving here. So you have to know of things to be on the lookout for. Now here's a truck who wants to cut into that right lane or this overtaking lane, but he's not given an indicator. It's very dangerous of him, and I have to slow down trying to assess what moves he's going to make. If he had continued veering into this overtaking lane, I would have had to slow down, give way to him, but he seemed to be hesitating, so I sort of I assumed that he could see my car headlights in his side view mirror. Trucks would use a rear view mirror. Yeah, they've got their goods or their cargo behind, so they have to rely on their side view mirrors. And so saw him sort of hesitate and then give way a little bit, so just eased my way to overtake him. Now we put some vehicles ahead, and look, I miss this guy behind me, but he's got his headlights so low, that they didn't quite show up, and before I could sort of start trying to give way to him, he was already overtaking me from my left, which is not good. Overtaking the left, it could be dangerous, because if I had sort of started to give way and just cut into the left lane, and then he was trying to overtake me from the left lane, see another collision possible. Yeah, so if you're driving and you want to overtake a vehicle and he's in your lane, for example, I'm in this so-called overtaking lane, the thing that he should do is just be following me. He's got to slow down a little bit. If I didn't notice him or I'm not giving way, then he could just give one flash of his headlights, to sort of attract my attention. That flashing the headlights is not good. It's a little bit aggressive behavior. But if I wasn't giving way, then he'd have no choice. And then I'd move over to the left. But if I still didn't do that, then that's where trouble starts, because then he might feel that, oh my God, there's no other way to get to overtake this guy, so he might then start moving on the left, which is a little bit on the dangerous side. So it's all a little bit risky. But the thing that you want to do, or the thing that you don't want to do, is just to make any sudden switching of lanes movements. And before you switch lanes, do it judiciously and give some indicator. Turn on your indicator and indicate that you're going to be switching lanes, so any vehicle behind you could respond accordingly. Some of you might also be wondering why, when I'm driving and it's a clear stretch of road, why I still tend to stick to this overtaking lane. I mean, even though I keep saying that I look into my rear view mirror regularly, and there are side view mirrors and all kinds of indicators that will help me to know if there's a car behind me. But I could just avoid all of that hassle and just go into the other lane. Well, one of the reasons is that the heavy vehicles and trucks tend to use that lane, and at certain stretches when the ground is a little bit soft, and if it has been raining, some of the vehicles are so heavy that they can put so much of stress on the lane that little cracks and little potholes begin to develop on that side. And so usually the road on that side is not as smooth, and there might be like potholes, and occasionally even a little bit of debris on the road. So if you are regularly driving and then you take that lane, if you're moving a bit fast, you find that it becomes fairly uncomfortable and bumpy, and you sort of feel that it's a bit unsafe. So generally speaking, I tend to stick to this lane when the roads are nice and clear, and when I can still be aware of traffic that's behind me, and I'll go into that lane when I want to be driving a little bit slower. Like for example, you need a higher degree of alertness to be driving on this overtaking lane. I try to avoid using the term fast lane, because I don't want to let myself feel that I can drive fast in this lane. I still have to observe the speed limit. So you need to be much more alert. Look at that indicator from a truck far ahead saying he wants to cut into this lane. I've noted that, and thank you so very much, unknown truck driver, for giving that indicator. And now he's given his left indicator to signify that he's completed overtaking some other person and he's now out of this lane. That's all. At night, when you're driving, you just keep a good distance from other traffic, and you use your indicators judiciously. If you do need to overtake somebody and he doesn't seem to be quite aware of your presence, you can just give a very quick flash of your headlights or your high beam flash, and that's okay. In fact, if you're driving along rural roads or the trunk roads, not the highway roads, sometimes when you are driving at night and if you have a lot of trucks on the road, you might find that a fair number of the truck drivers will be flashing their high beam lights at oncoming traffic, as well as also on the traffic in front of them, or vehicles in front of them. And part of the reason is that the old school truck drivers would flash the lights just to sort of like keep the other guy alert. Or if they notice that you were drifting a little bit as you were driving, if they are following you and they notice that you're drifting a little bit, they might think that, this other truck driver is a bit sleepy, and they'll start flashing their high beam lights, and you flash off on, and trying to catch your attention. And once you caught their attention, you're thinking, why is this guy flashing his lights at me? If you seem to be, drifting a bit as you're driving, the first thing that you do is why is he flashing his lights at me? And the first thing you do is you check to see whether you are on your, correct side of the road, correct path, and you're not veering off your lane, and stuff like that. And as far as flashing onto oncoming traffic, sometimes they do that just to keep each other awake. This is old school truck driving along trunk roads. On these main highways, you don't see that happening. In fact, it becomes bloody irritating if you get vehicles on the other side. Like, see, you just noticed some guy was flashing his lights. So it becomes irritating and sometimes dangerous because their beams are so powerful they might hit you with a glare. So on this sort of a highway thing, flashing your headlights is not good. It's not good at all. So it has to be done extremely judiciously. And you don't want to be flashing your headlights if there is oncoming traffic, because the glare might really upset their vision. That oncoming driver might sort of like lose focus of where he is within his lane, and if he veers off lane, dangerous, he might hit into the railings on the side or collide with the vehicle. So another thing that you need to do is like if you're driving your vehicle at nights, ensure that your headlamps are adjusted correctly and accordingly. You'll probably notice that my headlamps are adjusted, with the left beam slightly higher than the right beam. The right beam is a little bit dipped, and that's because if I were to go into high beam, or even with this particular beam, I don't want. I notice a car behind me, so giving way for him. So the beams, I don't want my high beam to be, number one, irritating oncoming drivers, causing them glare. Number two, if the beam is a little bit high, sometimes it hits the vehicle in front of me at the wrong angle, and it might cause a glare of their rear view mirror. And so I dipped that one a little bit low. When I go into high beam mode, then of course it will glare at everybody, so to speak, and so that has to be done, like I said, very judiciously. In the case of this car that I'm driving, I've got my high beam setting to auto. So basically the car reads the traffic. If it notices any oncoming traffic, then it won't go into high beam mode. If it notices that the road in front of me is absolutely clear, no oncoming traffic, and also no vehicle in front of me heading in the same direction as me, so if the road is absolutely clear and it's darkish, then it'll turn on the high beam. If the road in front of me is clear but there are good street lights, then the high beam won't come on. And generally I find that is a better setting for me for this vehicle, because it reacts faster than I would react if I were to control it manually. Sometimes when you're driving manually and you're driving along a lonely stretch, you put on your high beam, and then some vehicle begins to approach from around a corner, and if you're not really focused, it might take you a couple of seconds to respond and turn your beam down, during which time you could have already caused him some glare strain. But the microchip that controls this in this car is an unfeeling creature, so it's obviously scanning, and I find that it's fairly decent. Look, even now the road in front of us is clear. We've got some oncoming traffic, and the high beam hasn't turned on yet. You probably would only notice the high beam turning on when the road is dark and there are no vehicles on either side that we could be glaring into. So here we are, still driving. I should have taken a bit of a break, but I'm feeling quite good. Not sure, if the video recording, can or should go on non-stop for such period. So maybe what I'll do is at the next opportunity I shall stop this video and then restart it, so have another segment, so to speak. I think this video has gone on for a bit over an hour. We should be able to do 1.5 or 2 hour videos easily. Can't make any adjustments now because like we're driving, can only do that once we pull over. This video is being done using my mobile camera, not a dash cam. My mobile phone, and it's located on the dashboard on a DIY mount, which is basically a very laughable, cheap idea that I had, using a piece of foam, mounting it on some styrofoam, placing that on some softer foam. So let's just see that, how it goes. And considering getting a dash cab, but I don't want to be having to fiddle around with too many things, and then later having to, take out data cards and then put them into, my computer and then upload things. If it's on my mobile phone, it's so very much easier. At my convenience, I can just upload these videos into YouTube. But let's see how it goes. Alright, I'm going to slow down a little bit because over here the road becomes a little bit winding and it's uphill, and trucks on the left will be struggling to go uphill, so they'll all slow down, and I find it much better if even I slow down when the left lane is moving slowly, so I'm not whizzing past any truck, just in case any one of them, veers into this lane. I'm not going to be coming at them so fast that I can't respond. Notice a vehicle behind me, so this guy might be in a bit of a hurry and not willing to slow down for the winding road stretch. So quite a fair number of times you'll find people on the smaller vehicles who seem to be the most in a hurry, so to speak. mosquito drivers. That little car ahead of us on this lane is driving at just about the speed that I want to be driving at. So decided to stay on this lane for a little bit, less stressful, and the road seems to be decent this side as well, not the potholes and stuff that I used to be worried about. There's going to be a rest stop area a few minutes from here. I'll pull over there, stop and restart the video, but just pull over and stretch my legs a little bit. It's been just an hour and a half, so to speak. Less than an hour and a half, but I feel quite good, but hey, might as well as continue feeling good. Yeah, now you see my head high beam thing coming automatically off and on, and came on for a little bit, then realized that there was some oncoming traffic or traffic ahead and started dipping. And so you notice that this road has become a little bit bumpy here with some, some potholes that have been sealed over, so to speak. That's what I was talking about when explaining why I sometimes avoid driving on this lane. For now, the discomfort of the occasional bump is okay to deal with. I don't have to stress myself with driving on the overtaking lanes on the right. It's like all I need to do is just steer a course in front of me, only worry about whatever vehicle is in front of me on this lane, slow down to avoid colliding with them. for which I have my car's auto cruise, auto tracking system on. So when it sees a vehicle in front, it tends to slow down. And now we've got some vehicle really slow in front of me, and I have to overtake him. It's clear on the other side. The indicator's given. That guy was going really slow, so even my auto tracking system, would have been a bit put off, because by the time he realized that it was a certain distance from that guy, it would have had to brake hard. So in this case, I beat the auto tracking system, so I braked before it came into play, so to speak. It sort of like reads the speed of the vehicle ahead and the distance and stuff. But that guy was like moving just like too slow. So now we're going to pull over into a designated rest area. It's called R&R, Rest and Recreation. Like you sort of like imagine there's going to be going some couple of pubs there and a dance hall or something like that. Yeah, what recreation? Just a place to stop and have some food. That's what Malaysians do. Malaysians' idea of recreation is to eat and eat and eat and eat, and then of course they've got some public blues, so to speak. I don't need to eat. I don't need to go to the restroom. I just need to stop for a minute. Stretch my legs. Adjust the camera. Stopping the video now. I'll continue again in a while.